Hey, 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 what's up, everybody? Welcome into the Hoops Hour with me, the big man on campus, getting you going here January 2nd, 2018. We're back from the dead. Had a lot going on, but the plate is now a little less busy. So now we get back to everything. I really kind of wanted to figure out what I was going to do. And look, people asked, people like this show, and I'm bringing it back. We'll be here every day, 5 o'clock Eastern, and head into March. Hopefully on the right side. Um, New name, show's still the same, though. Wanted to come up with kind of a cool name. I thought the Hoops Hour was pretty fine. So what this show is, I'll go down the basketball card, try to provide you with some great info that you can use to hopefully make better educated wagers, and you give a pick or two along the way as well. We'll get a little few things out of the way here. Obviously, the difference between this show now and this show last year is I sell picks. And I know a lot of people, I've had a lot of shit from it that I sell picks, but it's really the fact that just kind of understanding that I made people a lot of money last year. Again, I need to earn a living, and I've done that. I know people aren't happy with it. And, it's been an up and down season. It's been mostly up lately, but I started out 0-9. I know a lot of you guys know that, but we fight back, and now we're a few games under, and conference play has started. I'm seeing the sport well. I still love it a lot. And if I could provide schematic matchup, advantages for you, maybe do some work for you. Again, this is all free here, so this here will be here every day for you to opine on and then share your insights as well. But let's get into it. I have a lot of games here. I'm going to try to get to as many as I can. If you have a game you want to talk about, I'll try to get to it. Just try to listen in, and we'll get to a couple different ones here. First one I wanted to talk about, and I welcome all of you in. Thanks for joining me here. Maybe some of you we haven't talked since last year or whatever. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, like, and comment. Let me know what you're on after the fact. You can join me here every day, so make sure you don't miss a show. All you got to do is subscribe, and you'll get notified every day. And tell your friends. Tell people you think might enjoy this show. It really is all about the listener. If you have a question, I'm going to try to answer it. I'll get to both those games. We'll just try to go over a couple that I have my eye on first, then we'll get to some questions here. First one I wanted to take a look at Nebraska and Maryland. Really kind of one of the bigger ones of the game of the night here. Right at 6:30 starts before everything else. You got a lot of tickets on this game. 4,000 tickets on this game. You look at the number currently. This number's up to 2.5 here, and this is to me the right side. Maryland. Obviously, I think first you're going to look at this game and say to yourself, "Well, Nebraska is really good against the spread. They always are." You look at the fact that they're 9-2-1 against the number, and they've really been doing it, dominating. I mean, they're scoring 80 points a game, giving up less than 60. Tim Miles' team is very good, and I'm not going to doubt that. But the truth of the matter is, on the road, there's not a lot to go off of here. This team went on the road, lost to Minnesota, went at neutral, lost to Texas Tech. Do have a road win against Clemson, but it was by 2. They didn't play particularly well in this game. You also got to keep in mind Isaiah Roby might be out of this game. That's a big loss for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, because Roby, good size. He's a junior, does a nice job on the block, very good as far as block percentage, one of the tops in the country, does a nice job at getting to the foul line as well. It's a big loss for them. Also, you look at the fact that without him, you're going against a Maryland team here really good on the block, very good in the front court. They're a big group. Bruno Fernando, Jalen Smith. This is a big, big basketball team that's going to be tough to deal with down low. This Maryland team has looked really solid. I mean, you look at all their games this year. A 5-point loss to Virginia, nothing to hang your head with there. Scored 71 points, lost by 2 in Purdue, and by 4 to Seton Hall. And I think we've all realized the Pirates are a lot better than people think as well. This is a terrific rebounding team that can produce offense in the half court. And they're pretty big, as I said. Do a nice job at the line. I think this is a really good spot for Maryland tonight. You look at this line, I think a lot of people are going to buy into this line and take the 2.5. I think Maryland wins, 76, 71, something like that. Won't be easy. It's going to come down. But if you can get that 2 still, or maybe just play the money line. You're getting a 130-ish. I think you got a nice play here. I've even looked to lay the 2.5. I think Maryland wins, and I think they finally show people. This Nebraska team, you don't have a lot to go off of, and I liken this game a lot to last night when Marquette St. John's. Writing was on a wall in that game. And this is one of those spots that we talked about last year in the Power 5 where you have, on paper, the better team going on the road, and you have a spread like this where you look at it and say, why is Maryland a 2.5 point favorite against Nebraska? They're not as good as Nebraska. Maryland's pretty good, and they've got a lot of pieces that can bother the Nebraska corners. And Roby probably not going to play in this game. Cowan is a terrific junior guard. He's definitely a guy that you want dealing with. I like Maryland in this game if I had to play it. Agreed. Hit the like button. Thank you. Make sure if you're enjoying this show, please make sure you're hitting the like button. Thank you, Guan. What's up? P. White, Lloyd Mash, Russ, Dan Lapp. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. Conrado, John, Jay, Corey, Fightin' Phils, Troy, Jordan, Marcellus, James, Matt Lawrence. What's happening? Russ B. What's going on? Thanks for joining me here. Please, if you're on Twitter, retweet this show. It's a great way to get it out to people that maybe don't see it on a regular basis. That's a great way to grow the show. If you retweet it and you have 300 followers, those 300 followers might have some interest in this show. So obviously do that for me. And let's get the. You remember last year, guys? I mean, at one point we were having 700-800 people in this show at one time. And what I will also do, I will go ahead and at the end of the show, just kind of recap some of my favorites tonight. My client card, I'll go ahead and give one play out in there as well. I have no problem with that. I'm not going to do that every night, but I'm going to do it tonight. So we'll do a little welcome in here. Hopefully you guys get on the play and it cashes in. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it. R.S. Jacobs, KY Derek, what's happening? Let's get back to the games here. Let's go to Texas Tech, West Virginia. Very interesting game here down in Morgantown. And I think it's a terrible matchup for the Mountaineers. You look at really at all facets with this team. They're not very good. I mean, and I don't really know how else to say it. They're a team that I think has had major issues at the guard position. You look at what that turnovers have been the big issue for them this year. I mean, Beetle Bolden can't hold onto the ball. I mean, he cannot hold on to the basketball. He's turning the ball over 22% of the time. This team makes a lot of mistakes, and that's a bad idea when you're facing Texas Tech. Texas Tech makes you turn over. They bother. They're one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the country. You also add in the fact that on defense for West Virginia, no Sags Kanate tonight. That's a huge loss for them on the block. He's their leading rebounder. He's their leading shot blocker. And what a guy like that does, a lot of people say, oh, well, it's just a rebounder and blocker. No, it's a defender. It's a guy that absolutely changes the landscape of the basketball game. Because if you look at it like this, if you have a Kanate, an Azabuike, a Taco Fall, any of those bigs, and not your typical big, not the bigs now that go out on the perimeter, your actual legitimate big that sits down low and blocks shots and does stuff like that. They're so important to the defense because what these defenses do, Texas Tech, Virginia, UCF, all these defenses, what they do is basically they play a packed-in zone and basically say, we're not letting you get into the paint. We're not letting you do it. Create in the half court or you're not going to score. And that's what a guy like Kanate will do for you. He allows you to not get to the free throw line, take bad shots, fallaways, jump shots, settle in for threes. He basically walls off the paint and says, if you're going to come in here, you're going to have to get by me. And that's why he's such a tremendous shot player. That's what UCF does. So without him here, you're controlling the glass. You have a Texas Tech team that already is pretty athletic. I mean, you look at up and down this roster, whether it's Ondigo, the young freshman, sophomore, or it's Tariq Owens, who comes over from St. John's, or it's Odiase, who's a senior and has been there, and is a big kid, a lot of height. I mean, they're going to do what they got to do. And that allows Jared Culver to get into the paint. That allows, Matt Mooney to take jump shots where he wants. It's just a real tough loss. And I don't think, this West Virginia team is going to do much to bother Texas Tech here. It's just not a great matchup for the Mountaineers. This is also a team in Texas Tech that I think after the Duke game had to take a long look at their turnover problems. They had some turnover problems in that game. They have to make sure they avoid that. I think that's the only way. You're going to have to see Texas Tech just completely collapse to lose this game. There's just not a lot of things Texas Tech doesn't do well. Look, if Kanate was playing and, West Virginia didn't have such bad turnover problems, then maybe I'd be interested. But the truth of the matter is, guys, this team turns the ball over 21% of their offensive possessions, over 21%. That's a lot. That's like bottom 55 in the country. That's really bad. And this is a team that, look, to be honest, I know people say, well, they're pretty good offensively. Well, not really. And you look at the fact that they were able to pad their numbers playing Rider, Youngstown State, Lehigh, Monmouth. I mean, these are all really bad defensive teams. Valparaiso, all these teams are bad defensively. Buffalo, they're going to play the pace that West Virginia wants. This is just a nightmare game if I'm looking at it from a West Virginia standpoint, because there's really nothing they're going to do that I think is going to bother Texas Tech. And they're without their best rebounder, and he is so crucial to the success of them on defense. I'm not interested. If I was looking at this game, I would be all over Texas Tech. Michael D'Alessandro, what's happening? Best Gambler, how you doing? Thank you, Troy V. Conrado, how you doing? John Glass, hello. Who else do we got in here? Henrik, do I bet in the NHL? No, I do not. Thanks, Justin. What's happening? Thanks. Oh, D-Town Half D, what's up? Thanks for listening. The 11-point loss to Duke was not indicative of all of the game. We all know that was a 1-point game with 5 minutes to go. They just kind of fell asleep late in that game. And before they knew it, look, Duke will do that to you. They're the one team that can do that to you. So that's no surprise. Houston, Tulsa. This is an interesting game. Down in the Fertitta Center. You got Houston laying 10.5, total 135. This Tulsa team's pretty good. They're pretty interesting. You look at really what Houston's been able to do, and look, basketball-wise, they have been really impressive this year. I mean, it's hard to get away from the wins that they have. I mean, you look at they've beaten BYU, Oregon, LSU, St. Louis, Oklahoma State, Utah State. I mean, those are really, really high-level wins. That's a really impressive schedule. You're at home here. You've beaten everyone that's in front of you. You're undefeated. And I'm not saying Tulsa is going to come in here and beat you, but I do think there's a concern here. You look at Tulsa. Frank Hayes doesn't get a lot of credit, but this is a pretty decent team. I mean, they beat Oklahoma State, beat Kansas State, beat Dayton. You lost to Nevada by 10. I mean, nothing wrong there. You lost to Utah by 5 in Utah. I mean, I'm not saying the Utes are a good team, but it's not easy to go in there and win, especially if you're an East Coast team like Tulsa. I mean, that's tough to do. Tulsa's one thing you got to like about them is, and I talked about this on our show the other day, the one I did, and I urge you to check out. If you're coming into college basketball, you're looking to kind of get into what's going on. I did about a 50-minute podcast on really what to look for in the second half. Your teams that are good against the spread, teams that are bad against the spread, over-under teams, futures to take a look at. I also discussed continuity. Continuity is basically something that I think it's more of a measured analytical thing, but it's something that when you're dealing with continuity, basically it's the number of minutes that a team has played from one year to the next together. So are they continuity? Is there continuity there? It's more of something that basically determines each season, year to year, how together a team is. So you're taking the minutes from one year to another. And obviously when you have a team that, most of the teams that are really good have a lot of continuity. You look at a bad team like Iona. They've not really played together. There's not a lot of connection there. They don't have – you look at had the most continuity minutes ever. The team since 2008 that's had the most continuity. It was the Butler team in 2010. Had over 93% of the minutes were played by the same two players in back-to-back or same players in back-to-back seasons. So basically, you're saying from one season to the next are the same amount of minutes back. So it's more of like an experience thing. And, Tulsa's fairly experienced. I mean, Sterling Taplin, great point guard. They have a guy, they have guys that are on the wing that can get the job done. And Frank Haith always plays a 2-3 zone. And it's, again, how can we limit the team to get into the paint? Because that's what Houston wants to do. Houston, again, not a great three-point shooting team, really. I mean, they're only shooting at about 32.9%, and I think that's a concern in this game against Tulsa. Tulsa will allow you to mark them up from three, but I'm not sure Houston could do that. They want to use Corey Davis and Dajuan Giroux and those kind of guys and get into the paint. Get to the foul line. That's what Houston does. They're going to want to do. And that's what Tulsa's going to want to do as well. So it's kind of a chess match. Can Tulsa be cerebral enough to basically say, we're going to play our offense, we're going to play our tempo, we're going to go slow, and we're going to, when we can, get to the foul line. You look at Tulsa, 19th in the country in free throw attempts. They get to the line, they make it worth it. Okay, if they can get to the foul line in this game, they'll hang around. This is a lot of points to give to an experienced group like Tulsa. Question is, can they do enough on offense to keep up in this game? Because Houston's good. They're very solid. It's not going to be the easiest matchup, though. It's a fascinating game to watch. It's truly a real schematic matchup because on one side in Tulsa, get to the foul line, and can Houston hit enough outside shots and create offense against a zone that's really going to pack them in? Fascinating game. I don't think Houston's overrated. That's an interesting way to look at them. Overrated is interesting because, you've played a lot of really good teams. I mean, you beat a lot of really good teams. It's not like they just, to me, a team that's overrated is like Mississippi. Mississippi's not played anybody. That would be overrated. But to me, NC State, they're another one. NC State's overrated. They have one of the worst schedules in the country. You have a lot of really good teams here that you went and beat. You went on the road and beat BYU. You went on the road and beat Oklahoma State. And they're at home here. This is really impressive. So I think overrated is a bit of a stretch. Happy New Year, David. Thanks for joining us. Marquise, Rob Taz, what's going on? Thank you, Adam, for joining us. Isaac, George, Brian, Jay Lukes. Hound Dog's in here saying Tennessee will make the Final Four. I could see it. I don't think they will, but I see it. Yes, you can find continuity on Ken Palm. Yes, and Ken Palm is. I don't think all you should use, but I've come to find that there is some really good stuff on there. Thank you, R.S. Jacobs. Thanks for watching. Thoughts on Drake? The Drake game's interesting. That's a game where Evansville's involved a lot in games like that. They're at home. They're giving like a point or a point and a half or getting a point and a half. Drake is – the question is, are you buying into them? Because, they're really good on offense. I mean, Drake is 5th in the country in 2-point offense. They're really good on offense. Their tempo's terrific. They're not a great defensive team. As far as overs are concerned, Drake is great over-wise. I mean, they play great tempo. They're not a great defensive team. They're pretty good at getting to the foul line, and they make their shots. They're about as good as it gets for an over team. But, to be honest with you, there's not a lot of games that they've been on the road. What do you really have here? I mean, you went and beat Milwaukee. Who cares? And UMKC. You lost to Colorado. You lost to a neutral Iowa State. Drake's really good for what they've done. New coach. I mean, they've been really impressive. Evansville, on the other hand, interesting team. 75 points a game. Good tempo for them as well. They go quick. 66 in the country in tempo. They're not a great defensive team either. So you have two teams that get to the foul line a lot. You're going to have a lot of opportunities for points in this game. I would probably look more towards a total as opposed to Drake. This is a tough spot for Drake. Even though Evansville is not as good as they are, you have a lot of money coming in here on Drake. And people are starting to catch up to this team. That's one thing you hate about college basketball at this time, because a lot of us have, they kind of know about it. You kind of already know about these teams. You know about the Oklahomas, or you know about the Drakes. Now that everybody's involved with college basketball, it's hard to kind of find value because some of this stuff is kind of blown out of proportion. You know what I'm saying? So, again, for me, I'd look more towards the total in that game as opposed to the side. Drake should get the job done, though. That would, keyword there is should. Doesn't mean they will. Do me a favor, guys. Hit the like button. Every single person in here, hit the like button. It takes literally 1 second, and it's great for attention. So if you can do that for me, I'd greatly appreciate it. This is my channel, so anything you do would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Drake's solid this year. Yeah, Evansville's really solid at home. They always have been, and the line's kind of scary. You got to win by 3 points, 4 points here, 2 possessions. Looks to be points to me here. We'll keep it going here. A couple people commented and asked me about Utah State, Nevada tonight. If I'm looking at this game, I would look more first half here. I think Utah State could really catch them sleeping a little bit here. Nevada's good, but I'm not in love with them. I've said that all really off season and season. I like them. I think they're very good. I had them on Saturday, and they got the job done for me. I love you guys like the Caroline twins, or the Martin twins. I'm sorry, Jordan Caroline. Trey Porter. I mean, some of these additions have been really nice. But one thing that I've learned about this group, they start out slow. A lot of their games start out slow. Utah started out slow. Akron started out slow. Struggled all game against the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. Struggled all game against Arizona State. I mean, this is a team that sometimes struggles. They were down 36-24 at the half against Arizona State. Fought back and got the job done. They don't come out with a lot of pizzazz. It's kind of weird. Texas Tech has the same problem. They start out slow. Then they come on in the second half and beat you up. And that's one of the reasons they're undefeated. But this, I got to tell you, other than Arizona State, this is probably the best team they played this year. Utah State is really good. And I think one thing that you got to be impressed about with Utah State is not only the fact that, they're really talented on offense. They do a nice job at getting to the foul line. They're good from 2-point percentage. They're good in the half court. They're very efficient. 54% from effective field goal. But defensively, they've been terrific. I mean, they're third in the country in 2-point defense. Utah State. How about that? The Aggies. That's what Craig Smith does for you. That's why he's one of the best mid-major coaches in the country. And that's why this is such a coup to get him at Logan. I got to be honest, people. I mean, if you're giving me this amount of points, 9.5, 10, I think you might even get 10 in this game. You got 9.5 right now. This game didn't go off to 11 p.m. This is... People ask me all the time, why do you love college basketball? Because I love them. I love matchup. I love basketball. And this is such a great game at 11 o'clock Eastern. It's about as good as it gets. It's going to be 1:30 to this game ends. I'm going to be intently watching it. What a terrific matchup. I can't wait. If I'm getting 9.5, 10, I like Nevada, but to be real with you, they don't really blow good teams out. I mean, you look at this team, and that's why against Utah, I was getting 7.5, so I was like, okay, I'm interested. But if I'm laying 12.5, 13 in that game, I wouldn't be interested. But that game was within 10 the entire game, other than at the end. Beat Akron by 6, beat South Dakota State by 4, beat Grand Canyon by 8, beat Arizona State by 6, beat USC by 12, Tulsa by 10. I mean, they don't really blow teams out. And you look at the teams they do blow out, BYU, Utah, Pacific, Cal Baptist, UMass. You know what's about them that you don't like? They don't play any defense. If you play defense and could score, you will cover against fucking Nevada. It's that simple. proof's in the fucking pudding here, people. Let's not make this difficult. If you play defense, you can cover against Nevada because they don't have as much a discrepancy against those teams. They're not Kansas. They're not Duke. They're not Kentucky. They don't have those athletes. They're very good, but they're not those teams. If I'm getting 9.5, 10, I would take Utah State here. Couple comments here. Any thought on waiting until January to start capping college basketball? I don't have a problem with that. I think if you're watching this stuff, it's not a big problem. There's a lot of volatility in non-conference play. I mean, obviously with the tournaments, that's one of the things that I struggled with early on. I'm not an 0-9 capper at college basketball. No fucking way. But I was getting involved and getting out of my shell and going into things that I shouldn't. Betting on public teams on the road, neutral courts. A lot, there's holidays. There's a lot of mines along the way. There's a lot of things going on. Conference play is more cerebral. It's home gyms, away gyms. There's not a lot of breaks. It's back to back and that kind of stuff. These kids want to get into a flow. They don't want to sit and then sit for 9 days and that kind of stuff. What else do we have here? The spokesman likes DePaul and Nova over. Didn't look much in that game, but DePaul's improved though. I don't hate that play. Nova's turnover problems. I could keep DePaul in the game. Any thoughts on Northwestern, Michigan State under? I wouldn't be interested. I think Michigan State are really unreal on offense. I think they're about as good as it gets on offense. They have been terrific all season. I think they push 80 in that game, to be honest. I mean, you look at offensively, they're about as good as it gets from three. I mean, 2, they're very good. They're effective, 7th in the country in field goal percentage. I'm sure people say, well, they're pretty good defensively, Northwestern. Yeah, I guess. But, I mean, this is a pretty big test here. Michigan State's really good. So I think they'll push 80. So I don't know that I'd be interested in that total there. I already talked about Maryland. You'll have to go back a little bit. Hustle, man. That was the first game I talked about. Yeah, I don't do alternative spreads. Ben H says Utah State. Agreed. I'm going to get to Temple, UCF here in a second. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point, Troy V. I mean, Nevada might have lost to South Dakota State. Mike Dom only had 5 points in that game. That's a good point. I'm not a big buyer into Nevada. I'm not. I've said that all year. I think they're good, but I don't think they're top 10. I just don't. Can Colorado win straight up? Colorado State win straight up? I don't think they can win straight up, but I would take the points against Nevada or UNLV. UNLV's had some problems. Shakur Houston's out now. It's their leading rebounder, leading shot blocker. That's a big loss for them. They're pretty deep at the center position, but again, I mean, Houston's the best one they have. Colorado State's had some bad luck. They were right in that game against Long Beach, right in the game against South Dakota. Played pretty well early in the season against some decent opponents. And they're well coached. Nico Medved's a great coach. Carvaccio's really good down low. JD Page has been really solid for them. I think if there's a big dog to hang tonight, it would be them. Them and Utah State. I think both those dogs can come in. So, yeah, I would agree with you on that. Do I think he can win? Wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the Mountain West stinks. I mean, the Mountain West is bad outside of Nevada. There's nothing in the Mountain West. San Diego State sucks. UNLV sucks. I mean, let's keep this in mind, guys. Just put it in perspective. UNLV just lost a game by 25 at home to Bucknell, and they give up 97 points. Indiana State lost by 5, gave up 84 in that game. Give up 90 to BYU. Gave up 77 to Illinois. This team stinks. They should not be laying this kind of number. Sorry. MZ Zowie, hello. I'm good. Thank you. Thanks, Jose. Appreciate it. Yeah, Burnley came in. My banker today on the show. Got to listen to Premier League punters. Can Oklahoma win outright? They don't play West Virginia. Oklahoma plays Kansas. I don't think Oklahoma can win outright. If Wazabwike wasn't playing tonight, I would have a lot more interest. Him coming back's a really nice get for Kansas. I mean, Oklahoma's lost 17 straight games at the Fog. I mean, it's pretty difficult. But if you know me, you know I love Oklahoma. And I would not be swayed off them here. If you like Oklahoma, I'd probably take them here. I mean, they're 10-1-1 against the spread. They're sharing the basketball. They're rebounding. They have a lot of athletic players. Defensively, they've been fantastic. This just has the makings to me of coming down to the wire. There's something off about Kansas. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's getting Wazabwike back. I would like it a lot more if he wasn't playing. If he wasn't playing, they would probably be a pick of mine today. But I'm not going to tell you to get off them. I think they have about as much value as you can get. And I think at long term, I think at 200-1, I think that's where I got them. I think they're a terrific bet, a long term. Because again, it goes back to that old word, continuity. They have it. They're an experienced team. This team averages about 2.25 years of experience. That's 26 in the country. They're experienced. They played together. They have a good bench. All this little personnel stuff is great for late in the season. And you look at strength of schedule. Oklahoma, 10th in the country. I mean, the 10th best non-conference team in the schedule in the country. Pretty good. Oklahoma is about as good as it gets. I love this team. I love them long term. I don't have anything on Valpo. I haven't been involved much with them this year. I'm not a big Missouri Valley guy. Feel free to throw out any other games. Let me get to the game that I'm going to recommend tonight for all of you. This is a game that I personally played. Now, again, I'm going to give you the number I gave out. Here's the problem, guys, with me doing this, okay? I sent this number out at 4.5. It's at 5 now. I sent it at 4.5. So if you want my picks, you'll have to buy them, as far as my premiums. But I took UCF tonight against Temple. I feel like, to me, when I saw this number last night at 6.5, I was a buyer then. I would have made this number 6.5 if it was me, and that's what they made it. It's been bet down to 4.5. And I think it's very simple with this. I don't think there's any funny business. I think the public likes Temple. They see the start that Temple's had. They've been in games. They've done a nice job. Fran Duffy's final year. People know Temple. They know the team. But there's a lot of red flags in this game. One of them being Temple's on the road. I mean, Temple, in stepping up, has had trouble. The Davidson game, a prime example. They had no business winning that game. Lost to Villanova, lost to VCU. I think UCF's the best team they're going to play other than Villanova. You look at the fact also, it's a road game. Temple hasn't played since December 22nd. Could be a little giddy in this game. This is strictly a schematic game for me as well. Last year when Temple went down to UCF, they scored 37 points. And you're telling me 37 points? Yeah, it was that bad. And B.J. Taylor didn't even play in that game. You have a fully healthy UCF team. And here's what I'm going to go back to. The reason it's so tough to score on Central Florida is they don't let you get to the paint. They literally wall the paint off and say, okay, shoot over us. Our guards are big and we can guard your shot, but do what you got to do. You're not getting into the paint. And for me, that's a problem. Temple's almost exclusively, their goal is to get into the paint, kick out for jump shots, Quentin Rose and Shiz Alston creating, Nate Pierre-Louis. The only way Temple covers in this game is if they find a way to knock down a lot of threes. And I know Temple in and out. I go to all their home games. I'm a season ticket holder. I know about as much as it's going to be about Fran Dunphy. They don't shoot the three ball well at all. Like, at all. I mean, like under 30%. And when you're playing UCF, the way to beat UCF is you got to come in and be able to knock down threes. And I don't think Temple can do that. I just don't. I know what this team is. I know what they're all about. And the number's only 4.5 here. UCF's going to play deliberately. They got BJ Taylor back. And I'm sure people say to me, well, big man, you mentioned the one game in UCF. Temple beat them in Philly. And I know, but Taco Fall didn't play in that game. This is a fully healthy team. Taco Fall makes it literally impossible to score at the rim when he's around it, because it's common knowledge that when you're taking the ball down the court and you're setting it up in half court and you see a guy that's 7'6", who's one of the tallest people on earth, is in the middle of it, you generally want to stay away from that. It's just how the defense stuff goes, and that's why it's such a tough game. Johnny Dawkins is a great defensive coach. He's got his son. His son wasn't eligible last year either. This is a much better basketball team. They're my pick to win the American. I think they're that good. I think the students being back, that's big as well here. I think this is a great pick tonight. I'm really interested. I liked it at 6.5. I absolutely love it at 4.5, and that's one of the reasons to play for me tonight. I like UCF minus 4.5. I got 4.5. Now, the elephant in the room in this game, and I'm sure if I look at the chat right now, somebody's going to mention it. They're going to say to me, well, big man, you tell me all the time about how you don't like teams that can't make foul shots. And people are going to say, well, they shoot 63%. Correct. But your percentages really hurt themselves when you have a guy that shoots it at 27% from the line. Taco Fall shoots 27% from the line. But you look at late in the game, the people that are going to be shooting foul shots to maybe put this game away if it's necessary. BJ Taylor, 81%. Aubrey Dawkins, 86%. Cesar DeJesus, 87.5%. Frank Burt's, 80%. You have guys that can knock foul shots down. Unfortunately, they just have a guy or two that are really bad. And it's likely that they won't even be in the game. So for me, it's all about the Central Florida Golden Knights tonight. They're a play of mine tonight, and I urge you to jump on them with us. All right, let's take care of a couple questions here. We'll see how it goes. Big man, how's your girl doing? She's a smoke show. Thank you, Scott. For anyone that hasn't seen me for a while, I do have a girl now, and she's terrific. She's a great girl. We've been talking for about 4 or 5 months now. She's way out of my league, but she likes me, and I'm happy with it. She's met my family. She's terrific. Very happy. She makes me happy, and she's beautiful to look at. That's all I'm going to say. For me, though, I've waited a long time to find that. I don't just settle. And I'm very happy with her. She's great. So thank you for asking. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you. And you know what? I do clean up okay myself. I know maybe you don't see me at my best, but when I got my hair done and, I don't look too bad. So, I'm very happy. Thank you for asking. Have I met her family yet? I have. We've both met each other's families. She's been up here many times. She'll be up here this weekend. It's all worked out. And, sometimes when you find the right girl, things even out. And it's worked. Will you have pick on right wager? I'm not sure what you mean. I have 2 picks on right wager already, so not really sure what you mean by that. Thank you, Russ. Thank you, David. Thanks, Secret Family, Anthony Greer. Appreciate it. New Mexico Air Force. Again, the dredges of the Mountain West, right? That's what you pretty much have out there. These are 2 real bad basketball teams. That's all I'm going to tell you. You look at New Mexico. It's been a tough year for Paul Weir. I mean, it just hasn't really been where you thought it'd be. Caleb Wesson came out there and he was supposed to be a big addition. Went out with an injury. They really had to do it kind of with a skeleton crew, a group that I think they thought would be a lot better. Air Force, I mean, they're always kind of a weird team. I don't see much here to really get involved with. New Mexico is obviously really good tempo-wise. Air Force is really slow tempo-wise. So, I mean, you're really playing who's going to be able to establish tempo kind of game, and I don't really like to play those. So, I wouldn't have an opinion on this one. Yeah, it happens, hoops. That's how it goes sometimes, man. My advice: don't meet girls at bars. They'll probably hurt you, bro. What's up, Spike? Welcome in. Um, yeah, too much of a weird tempo. I mean, you have one good tempo, one bad tempo. So I wouldn't be interested in that New Mexico game. Chili Willy, UConn, out Florida, and Iowa State, Oklahoma State. I like Iowa State. I think they're slowly going to get really good. I mean, I think they are really good already, but I think they're only going to continue to improve. But Oklahoma State's a tough place to play. Stillwater is an interesting place. Gallagher Ibra has just that interest in it. You look at this team at home. I mean, they've been pretty good. They've had some really tough neutral away games. People are going to, look at all their losses. They've been mostly on the road. They had one loss against Houston, and that's nothing bad at home. This is a team that can knock down threes. You can stay in games with threes. If I'm laying, what's the number in this game? 4.5. I don't know. I think it's kind of baiting you into taking Iowa State here. I would almost lean with the points. Gallagher Iba is a tough place to go. I think the three could be the equalizer in this game. Michael Weathers comes over from Miami of Ohio. He's done some good things for them. They still have Lindy Waters, Cameron McGriff. This team can make shots. It's can they defend? I think that's going to be the big question. But I think they can defend. They just kind of not. The problem with Oklahoma State is if this turns into a kind of a run out type of game where they turn the ball over too much. There's a lot of turnover problems in this conference. Oklahoma State has issues with it. West Virginia has issues with it. These young teams have issues with turnovers, and it's really no surprise. Again, guys, if you're listening to what I'm saying to you, it's really no surprise that if you ask me, hey, big man, how's the continuity and experience look for Oklahoma State? It's not good. 300 and 301. They don't play a lot of minutes together. There's a lot of skitsy basketball going on. Oklahoma State is a problem here. And against a team in Iowa State that is slowly improving. The only way Oklahoma State, to me, hangs around here is if they can make threes. That's going to be a question. But I think Iowa State, from a long-term proposition, I need to see them get people back and get healthy here. They're still dealing with, injuries to Lindell Wigginton and Layard and Solomon Young. They're not a full complement yet. So for me, it's an avoidance right now. The other one he asked about was South Florida and Connecticut. Look, I love this team, Hurley's team. I think they're really good from 1 to, let's say, 6. But outside of that, I mean, where does your offense come from? They got run out in the second half against Villanova. And outside of their starting 5, I mean, there's not a lot here. I mean, there just isn't. They're just kind of decent, UConn. They're not great and they're not bad. They're good. And South Florida, I mean, for as bad as Brian Gregory's team is, there's 2 things South Florida do well. They rebound at a high level, and they get to the foul line. They're 3rd in the country in free throw attempts. Problem is, they don't make the foul shots. So South Florida's pretty bad. If I had to play this game, I would bet on UConn. I just don't think South Florida are very good. The things that they do well, they're not going to really be able to do well tonight. So, yeah, you got to wonder about this line. Kind of short, to be honest. It's kind of one of the weirder lines on the card because when you're looking at a team like South Florida, you're looking at the fact that they're at home and that's cool. But can they do anything that will bother UConn? And I'm not really sure they can because they rebound the ball well. They rebound 38.5% of their shots, but UConn's a pretty good rebounding team as well. So there's not really an advantage there. And while they get to the foul line, they don't really make their foul shots. So, yeah, this number seems a bit short to me. Hello there, checking in, saying NASA's a hoax. I don't disagree, actually. I think the moon stuff is bullshit as well. So, uh, again, this isn't the show for it, but I don't disagree. Jose, what's happening? Thanks for coming back. Brandon, thank you, Brandon. Appreciate that. You're too kind. Thanks for joining me. Skooma, what's up, buddy? Hope you're doing well. Would I take the points at DePaul? Let me take a look here. Not a game I really looked at. Villanova's kind of off limits for me right now. I think they're very hard to gauge, so they're kind of an avoidance for me right now. Where is Villanova? Sorry, guys, I gotta find them here. There they are. The question is, can DePaul turn them over? Because they're Villanova have another problem with turnovers. I think DePaul is good enough, to be honest with you. I think offensively they're pretty good. I like Max Struss. I like Eli Kane a lot. I mean, Max Struss can shoot the ball, man. Really good. He's a really good shooter. Yeah, they're all good shooters. I don't know. Gun to my head, I would probably take the points. I mean, you're getting 12, not bad. But Villanova's kind of had some time to think about things. They beat up Connecticut. They had Christmas. Now it's time to focus a little bit here. They're back at home. I don't know. This is a tough one. Andrew McGinnis, what's up, buddy? Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a nice holiday. Again, guys, Texas Tech, West Virginia, we talked about. A lot of these games we talked about. We're already past all these. Best fish and chips in Philly. That's not really what Philly's known for, buddy. But if you're asking me where you can get some decent seafood, down the shore. I mean, as far as fries, you can get good fries anywhere in Philly, but I don't really know where you get fish and chips in Philly. It's not really what it's known for. What's up, Van City Chris? Thanks for joining us. Talked about Northwestern, Tony, already. I would probably lean over, to be honest. I think Michigan State are really legitimate on offense, but it's not one of the better games to me. I think it'll be a good game to watch because, look, I think Michigan State's interesting because, you look at large parts of this schedule, they've had some tough games. I mean, you go and play, some of the beginning games, like right at the beginning, you play Kansas. Tough game. But you look at large parts of the schedule, I mean, it's not that interesting. I mean, UCLA's no good. I think Texas are about as overrated as it gets. You lost at Louisville. Iowa's no good. Florida's kind of average. I mean, the schedule's not great. That's one thing about Michigan State that I think we're going to learn a little bit about. Because right out of the gate, I mean, you're always going to have a tough matchup every night in the Big Ten. You start out with Northwestern. It is at home, though. But then you got to go to Columbus. You got Purdue and Penn State. Then you get Nebraska, Maryland, back-to-back. This team's interesting. They're a little unproven. You look at this non-conference strength of schedule. I mean, it's not great. 106. So I think Tony, for me with that game, I need to see a little more before I get totally involved. But I think Michigan State's really good. Chili Willie, thanks for joining us. I'll try to get to every comment here. Also, guys, I want to also tell you about, if you're interested, tonight, 9 o'clock, my show is back, Off the Board. It's a great show on SBR. We basically do some live betting, talk about the games going on, get involved with late games. Drew Martin will join me tonight. We'll talk about some things. So if you're interested and want to find me late night, you can find me. You can find me on SBR at 9 o'clock. Do I lean Georgetown? I do. I think tempo-wise, Georgetown's really good. Like Mac McClung a lot. You got to pay for Ken Palm. Yeah, but, I mean, you pay one time, and it's not bad, so I'll pay for it. Bucknell versus Army, any insight? I like Bucknell. I still think they win the Patriot League. The only game that I like on the added board tonight is Yale. I think Yale kills Kennesaw State. I mean, Kennesaw State's about as bad as it gets on offense, and Yale is just an offensive machine. And they go a mile a minute. They should kill Kennesaw. I wouldn't be surprised if they win by 40 in that game. I mean, Yale at home here. They've had a little time off, about 10 days off. The only thing that worries me about Yale is, do they maybe take their foot off the gas early? They got to go out to Cal State Northridge, and then they start their conference season. So will they rest a little bit? You want to hope they're up 40 in this game. It doesn't matter. But I think Yale kills Kennesaw tonight. I'll get to some questions, and then we'll wrap it up. A lot of comments here about Cincinnati tonight. Cincinnati is a team that I thought preseason was a little overvalued. I thought they lost too much last year to kind of warrant me being interested in them. I think tonight this number's a bit too high, but I'm not going to bet on it. You got to ask yourself if there are going to be enough possessions in this game for Cincinnati to cover. Cincinnati's as slow as it gets, tempo. 348 in the country. There's 353 teams. So, I mean, you look at the teams that they're really blowing out. Like, I'm talking about the games that they're winning by 20 or more. They beat Western Michigan by 26, beat Arkansas Pine Bluff by 50, but Pine Bluff are not even a Division I team. I mean, UCLA, they killed UCLA by 29. I don't know. Seems like a lot of points, man. Is there anything about Tulane that you like? Not really, though. Stay away from me. I could see both coming in. I could see Cincinnati blowing them out at home, but I mean, the pace is not going to be there for Cincinnati. It's, can they be efficient enough? They're not the most efficient offense. You got to hope this is like 78-50. That's what you got to hope. You got to hope Tulane just doesn't score. You're Canadian, but don't like how much of a volume shooter RJ Barrett is. I mean, look, and that's the game now, though, unfortunately. I mean, that's what these kids do. Everyone loves to shoot the basketball. Everyone loves to put up threes. It's sexy to make threes. Steph Curry, everybody loves him. Listen, I would like to see him be a little bit more, of an attacker. He's got great size. I mean, his wingspan's unreal. I mean, his standing reach is high. He's very athletic. He created him on himself. He is a streaky shooter. I think that's one thing about him. But nowadays with taking shots, I mean, that's just what these kids do. I guess I'm maybe a little confused of your question. You don't want him shooting as many threes, I'm guessing. I don't disagree with that. Am I Ken Palm believer? I think some people just bet Ken Palm and that's it. No, I mean, I think it's a good resource for certain things, but it's not my end all be all. What do I think about North Carolina? That's an interesting game. Harvard's pretty bad. I mean, they have their two best players out. UNC should destroy them on the boards. Is UNC, does UNC care about this game? I think they can definitely cover. It's, do they care? Because there have been some times where they have looked a little disinterested. But I'll tell you this about UNC: they're a great over team. I mean, I'd be betting them a lot in conference play over the total. But do they care a lot about this game? Saturday or conference starts, you got to go on the road your first two games. The question is, are they going to care enough about this game if it's a 13-point? If they're up, let's say they're up 83-71 with 4 minutes to go, are they going to put their foot on the gas and win by 20? Or is this just going to be one where they kind of go, bucket for bucket late and win by 14? They should kill Harvard, but do they care enough about this game? Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Josh. Hey, if there's games, we'll talk about it. Also, guys, Greg Peterson will join me tomorrow night on SBR on Off the Board. 9 o'clock, Greg will join me. Tonight, we got Drew Martin. So, yeah, a lot more guests being added. Do I still think the Bears win the Super Bowl? Yes. I already talked about Tulsa, Bart. You have to look back. Sorry. Thanks, Michael. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Tonight, I'm going to recommend Temple or UCF against Temple. Sent it out on the website. It's a play that I'm on. If you wish to opine, I bet it at 4.5. Feel free to jump on board. I also lean Texas Tech. I also like Utah State and Colorado State. Yale should beat Kennesaw as well. So again, here to give you as much insight as I can. Greg bets like 100 games a night. I don't agree with his handicapping status, but that's how he handicaps. But he knows a lot about college basketball, and he's a good guy. It's funny because people come to him and say shit that they don't like about me. But the good thing about things is we're both really good at college basketball, and we both really like it. So he'll always be a guy that I like to do shows with, you know. So yeah, he bets a lot different than I do, but for me, I'm pretty happy where we are with it. So we'll be, adding in people and, having guests and stuff. So check me out tonight, 9:00. We'll kind of update some of these bets and see where we are. We'll talk some NBA as well. I look forward to tomorrow. I'll be back here tomorrow. As I said, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening later, thanks for joining us. Like and comment. I'll be back tomorrow, 5:00 Eastern. We'll see you all then. Have a great night and good luck.